In the quaint, seemingly ordinary town of Bramblewood, there lay an old, abandoned mansion known as Windhurst Manor. It had stood for centuries, its Gothic architecture casting long, eerie shadows across the landscape. The townsfolk whispered stories about the manor, tales of ghostly apparitions, mysterious disappearances, and a cursed family lineage. Yet, the most chilling legend of all was the one about the secret room, a room so hidden and shrouded in darkness that no one had ever found it, but everyone feared what it might contain. It all began when a young woman named Emily Montgomery received a letter from a distant relative she never knew she had. The letter, written in elegant cursive on yellowed parchment, informed her that she had inherited Windhurst Manor from her great-uncle, Victor Ashford, a man she had never met. Emily was a curious soul, an aspiring writer with a penchant for mysteries. The idea of owning a sprawling mansion filled her with both excitement and trepidation. She decided to visit the manor, not just to claim her inheritance, but to unravel the secrets it held within its ancient walls. Upon her arrival, Emily was struck by the manor's imposing presence. The iron gates creaked open as she pushed them, and the path leading to the front door was overgrown with weeds and tangled vines. She hesitated for a moment, taking in the sight of the crumbling stone walls and the shattered windows, before summoning the courage to enter. The interior of the mansion was a labyrinth of dusty corridors, grand staircases, and forgotten rooms. Emily wandered through the house, marveling at the remnants of its former glory: crystal chandeliers covered in cobwebs, faded tapestries, and ornate furniture draped in white sheets. She could almost hear the echoes of laughter and music from a bygone era. As Emily explored the manor, she came across a study filled with bookshelves that reached the ceiling. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and leather bindings. She noticed a large oak desk in the center of the room, its surface cluttered with old letters and journals. Among them, she found a journal that belonged to her great-uncle Victor. The journal was filled with cryptic entries, detailing his obsession with uncovering a hidden room within the manor. He described hearing whispers in the walls and seeing fleeting shadows out of the corner of his eye. One entry stood out to Emily, March 15th, 1923, "The secret room eludes me still. I feel its presence, a dark entity lurking just beyond my reach. The key lies within the walls, a pattern that reveals itself in the moonlight. I must find it before it finds me." Emily's heart raced as she read the words. Her great-uncle's fear was palpable, and she felt a chill run down her spine. Determined to uncover the truth, she continued her search with renewed vigor, guided by the clues in the journal. Days turned into weeks as Emily delved deeper into the mysteries of Windhurst Manor. She spent countless hours in the study, poring over Victor's journal and examining every inch of the manor for hidden passages. One night, as the full moon cast an eerie glow through the broken windows, she noticed something strange about the wallpaper in the library. The intricate patterns seemed to shimmer in the moonlight, forming a subtle outline of a door. With trembling hands, Emily traced the outline and pressed against the wall. To her astonishment, a hidden door swung open, revealing a narrow, winding staircase that descended into darkness. Armed with a flashlight and a sense of determination, she began her descent into the unknown. The air grew colder as she ventured deeper into the bowels of the mansion. The walls were lined with damp, moss-covered stones, and the sound of dripping water echoed through the passageway. Emily's flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, but she pressed on, driven by an insatiable curiosity. At the bottom of the staircase, Emily found herself standing before a heavy, iron door. It was adorned with intricate carvings that depicted scenes of torment and despair. She hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The room beyond was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was a large, circular chamber with walls covered in ancient runes and symbols. In the center of the room stood an ornate pedestal, upon which lay a black, leather-bound book. The air was thick with an oppressive energy, and Emily could feel an unseen presence watching her every move. She approached the pedestal, her eyes fixed on the book. As she reached out to touch it, she heard a voice, a soft, whispering voice that seemed to come from the very walls of the chamber. The voice spoke in a language she couldn't understand, but the tone was unmistakably malevolent. Summoning all her courage, Emily opened the book. The pages were filled with dark incantations and detailed descriptions of rituals that promised to grant unimaginable power to those who dared to perform them. She realized that this was the source of the mansion's curse, the dark secret her great-uncle had been so desperate to uncover. As Emily read the incantations, the temperature in the room dropped even further. She could see her breath forming clouds in the frigid air. The whispers grew louder, and the shadows in the room seemed to come alive, swirling around her like a vortex of darkness. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, trapping her inside. Emily's flashlight flickered and went out, plunging her into complete darkness. She could feel the presence closing in on her, a malevolent force that seemed to feed on her fear. In a desperate attempt to escape, she began reciting one of the incantations from the book. The words felt foreign on her tongue, but she pressed on, hoping that the ritual would banish the darkness that threatened to consume her. As she spoke the final words, a blinding light filled the room, and the shadows recoiled, hissing and writhing in agony. When the light faded, Emily found herself standing alone in the chamber. The oppressive energy was gone, and the whispers had fallen silent. She felt a sense of relief wash over her, but she knew that her journey was far from over. The secrets of Windhurst Manor had been revealed, but the true horror was only just beginning. Emily stood in the now silent chamber, catching her breath and trying to make sense of what had just happened. The black book, still on the pedestal, seemed to pulse with a faint, sinister glow. Realizing she couldn't leave it behind, she carefully closed it and took it with her, feeling its cold weight in her hands. As she made her way back up the winding staircase, she noticed something peculiar. Her hands felt strange, and when she looked down, she saw faint, glowing symbols etched into her skin, the same runes and symbols that had adorned the walls of the secret room. Panic surged through her as she tried to wipe them away, but they remained, a permanent reminder of the dark magic she had encountered. Returning to the main part of the manor, Emily knew she needed help. She had a friend in Bramblewood, a local historian named Professor Julian Hawthorne, who specialized in ancient texts and the occult. If anyone could decipher the book and the markings, it would be him. The next morning, Emily rushed to Julian's home, the symbols on her skin hidden beneath long sleeves. Julian, an elderly man with keen eyes and a gentle demeanor, greeted her warmly. His house was filled with old books, artifacts, and curiosities from around the world. She wasted no time in explaining her ordeal, showing him the book and revealing the markings on her hands. Julian's expression grew serious as he examined the symbols. "These are very old and very dangerous," he said quietly. "They belong to an ancient cult known as the Ordo Noctis, a group that sought to harness the power of the dark arts for their own gain. This book you found is a grimoire, a manual of their rituals and incantations." Emily felt a chill run down her spine. "What does it mean for me? Why are these symbols on my skin?" Julian sighed. "It means you've been marked by their magic. The symbols are a form of binding, connecting you to the power of the book. To break free from it, we need to find a way to counteract the binding spell. But first, we need to understand the rituals and the history behind this cult." Julian and Emily spent days poring over ancient texts and deciphering the grimoire. They discovered that the Ordo Noctis had been active centuries ago, using their dark magic to manipulate and control those around them. The secret room in Windhurst Manor had been their hidden sanctuary, a place where they performed their most powerful and forbidden rituals. One passage in the grimoire stood out to Julian. It spoke of a ritual called the Severing, which could break the bonds of the dark magic. However, it required specific ingredients and precise timing. They would need to gather rare herbs, sacred relics, and perform the ritual under a full moon just 2 nights away. As they prepared for the ritual, strange things began happening around the manor. Doors would slam shut on their own, eerie whispers echoed through the halls, and shadowy figures appeared and disappeared in the corners of their vision. Emily could feel the presence of the Ordo Noctis growing stronger, as if the very house itself was fighting to keep its secrets hidden. The night of the full moon arrived, and Emily and Julian gathered in the grand hall of Windhurst Manor, where they had set up an altar for the ritual. The atmosphere was tense, the air heavy with anticipation and fear. Emily placed the grimoire on the altar and began reciting the incantations Julian had deciphered. As she spoke the ancient words, the symbols on her skin began to glow brighter. The shadows around them grew darker and more menacing, and the temperature dropped sharply. Julian lit the sacred herbs and held up the relics, adding their power to the ritual. Suddenly, the room was filled with a deafening roar. The shadows coalesced into a single, towering figure, an apparition of a dark-robed cultist, his eyes burning with malevolent fire. He reached out towards Emily, but an invisible barrier held him at bay. The binding symbols on her skin flared with intense light, pushing the dark entity back. With a final, desperate effort, Emily shouted the last words of the incantation. The light from the symbols erupted into a blinding flash, and the dark figure let out a shriek of agony before dissolving into nothingness. The oppressive energy in the room vanished, replaced by a profound silence. As the light faded, Emily collapsed to the floor, exhausted but free from the binding spell. The symbols on her skin had vanished, leaving only faint scars as a reminder of her ordeal. Julian helped her to her feet, his eyes filled with relief and pride. "You did it," he said softly. "You severed the connection." Emily nodded, feeling a sense of triumph but also a lingering unease. The manor was still filled with secrets, and she knew there were more mysteries to uncover. But for now, she was content to have survived the ordeal and broken free from the dark magic. In the weeks that followed, Emily and Julian continued to study the grimoire, seeking to understand the full extent of the Ordo Noctis' influence. They uncovered more about the cult's history, their rituals, and the other hidden chambers within Windhurst Manor. One day, while exploring a forgotten corner of the mansion, Emily discovered another hidden door. This one led to a small, dimly lit room filled with ancient artifacts and cryptic writings. In the center of the room was a pedestal similar to the one she had found before, but this time it held a different book, one that seemed to radiate a faint, benevolent light. Emily picked up the book, feeling a strange sense of familiarity and destiny. As she opened it, she realized that her journey was far from over. The horrors of the past had been revealed, but new secrets awaited her, secrets that promised both danger and enlightenment. She was ready to face whatever lay ahead, knowing that she was no longer alone in her quest. And so, with Julian by her side and the light of the new book guiding her way, Emily prepared to delve deeper into the mysteries of Windhurst Manor, determined to uncover the truth and protect the world from the hidden horrors that lurked in the shadows. Emily felt a sense of hope and determination as she examined the new book. Unlike the sinister grimoire, this book seemed to radiate a comforting energy. Its cover was adorned with symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light of the hidden room, and the pages were filled with beautiful, flowing script. Julian, equally intrigued, peered over her shoulder as she began to read. The book, which they quickly realized was a counterbalance to the dark magic of the Ordo Noctis, contained spells and rituals of protection, healing, and light. It was clear that this tome had been hidden away to keep it safe from the cult's influence. This must be what they feared, Julian mused. A source of power that could counteract their darkness. Emily nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. With the knowledge contained in this book, they could protect Windhurst Manor and perhaps even cleanse it of its lingering malevolence. They decided to start by performing a series of cleansing rituals to banish any remaining dark energy from the mansion. The rituals required specific preparations and materials, some of which were rare and difficult to find. Emily and Julian spent the next few days gathering what they needed, including purified water, sacred herbs, and crystals known for their protective properties. They also enlisted the help of a few trusted friends from the town who were knowledgeable in various forms of folk magic and spiritual cleansing. On the night of the new moon, when the sky was at its darkest, they began their work. The group moved through the manor, room by room, performing their rituals with careful precision. They chanted incantations from the benevolent tome, burned the sacred herbs, and placed crystals in strategic locations to create a protective grid around the house. As they worked, Emily could feel a change in the atmosphere. The oppressive energy that had haunted the manor for so long seemed to lift, replaced by a feeling of peace and light. The shadows in the corners retreated, and the eerie whispers fell silent. In the grand hall, where the final ritual took place, Emily and Julian placed the benevolent tome on an altar and surrounded it with candles. They recited the final incantation, calling upon the forces of light to protect and purify Windhurst Manor. When they finished, a soft, golden glow filled the room, and for the first time in what felt like ages, the manor felt truly safe. The group stood in awe, marveling at the transformation. With the manor cleansed, Emily decided to make Windhurst her home. She felt a deep connection to the house and its history, and she wanted to ensure that it remained a place of light and safety. She invited Julian to stay with her, and together they continued their research, exploring the hidden depths of the manor and uncovering its secrets. As they delved deeper, they discovered more about the history of the Ordo Noctis and their battle against the forces of light. They found records of an ancient order of guardians who had dedicated their lives to protecting the world from dark magic. It became clear that the benevolent tome had once belonged to these guardians, and it was now Emily's responsibility to continue their work. One day, while exploring the library, Emily found a hidden compartment in one of the bookshelves. Inside was a small, ornate box containing a key and a letter addressed to her great-uncle Victor. The letter, written by one of the last guardians, warned of a great darkness that would one day return and instructed Victor to find the key and the benevolent tome to protect the world from the coming threat. Realizing the gravity of their mission, Emily and Julian vowed to rebuild the Order of Guardians. They reached out to their trusted friends and allies, gathering a group of dedicated individuals who shared their commitment to protecting the world from dark forces. Together, they trained in the ancient arts of magic and protection, preparing for the day when they would be called upon to face the darkness once more. As the years passed, Windhurst Manor became a beacon of hope and light. Emily and her fellow guardians worked tirelessly to safeguard the world from the shadows, using the knowledge and power contained in the benevolent tome. The manor, once a place of fear and despair, was now a sanctuary of peace and protection. Emily often thought about her great-uncle Victor and the sacrifices he had made to protect the world. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for his efforts and was determined to honor his legacy by continuing the fight against the darkness. One evening, as she stood on the balcony overlooking the gardens, Emily felt a sense of fulfillment and purpose. She knew that there would always be challenges ahead, but she was ready to face them with courage and determination. The secret room had revealed its horrors, but it had also uncovered the light that would guide her and her fellow guardians in their quest to protect the world. And so, with the benevolent tome in hand and the support of her friends and allies, Emily prepared to face whatever lay ahead, confident in the knowledge that they were the guardians of Windhurst Manor, defenders of the light, and protectors of the world from the hidden horrors that lurked in the shadows. Years passed peacefully, but the guardians remained vigilant, ever watchful for signs of the darkness returning. Windhurst Manor flourished under Emily's care, becoming a hub for scholars, mystics, and those seeking refuge from the shadows of the world. The benevolent tome guided them, its pages revealing new spells and secrets as they proved their worthiness. One stormy night, as thunder rumbled in the distance and rain lashed against the windows, Emily was awoken by a strange feeling. It was as if the very air around her was charged with an ominous energy. She hurried to the library where Julian and a few other guardians were already gathered, their faces etched with concern. "The wards are reacting," Julian said, his voice tight with worry. "Something is coming." Emily nodded, feeling the same unease. They gathered around the benevolent tome, hoping it would provide some guidance. As they opened the book, the pages began to glow, and new words appeared, forming an urgent message. Asterisk, the darkness stirs. Seek the 7 relics of light. Only their combined power can hold back the tide. Asterisk, the message was clear. They needed to find the 7 relics of light to strengthen their defenses against the impending darkness. These relics, scattered across the world, each held a piece of the ancient guardian's power. Emily and her team divided the search, each group taking on the responsibility of finding one of the relics. Emily chose to search for the first relic herself, guided by a vision she had seen in the pages of the tome. It led her to the dense, mystical forests of Eastern Europe, where legend spoke of a hidden temple that housed an ancient artifact of light. Accompanied by a few trusted guardians, she embarked on the perilous journey. The forest was a place of enchantment and danger, with paths that shifted and shadows that seemed to move on their own. The guardians faced many trials, from treacherous terrain to spectral guardians that tested their resolve. But Emily's determination never wavered, and her companions drew strength from her leadership. After days of searching, they found the temple hidden deep within the heart of the forest. It was an ancient structure, overgrown with vines and moss, but still radiating a faint, welcoming glow. Inside, they discovered the first relic, a crystal orb that pulsed with a warm, golden light. As Emily reached out to touch it, she felt a surge of energy, a connection to the ancient guardians who had come before her. Meanwhile, Julian and the other guardians faced their own challenges as they sought the remaining relics. Each relic was protected by powerful magic and guardians, testing their knowledge, courage, and unity. They journeyed to remote deserts, icy mountains, and deep ocean caverns, overcoming obstacles and forging new alliances along the way. One by one, they gathered the relics, each one adding to their strength and resolve. The guardians who stayed behind at Windhurst Manor worked tirelessly to fortify the mansion and prepare for the inevitable confrontation with the darkness. The benevolent tome continued to guide them, revealing ancient spells and protective wards that would help them in the coming battle. Months passed before all 7 relics were finally reunited at Windhurst Manor. The guardians assembled in the grand hall, placing the relics on the altar where the benevolent tome lay. As the relics came together, their light merged into a brilliant, blinding radiance that filled the room. The symbols on the walls glowed with the same light, reinforcing the wards and barriers around the manor. Just as the relic's light reached its peak, the sky outside darkened, and a palpable tension filled the air. The guardians could feel the approach of the dark forces. They took their positions, each one ready to defend the manor and the world from the impending threat. The first wave of shadows came at nightfall, surging towards the manor like a living tide. The guardians stood firm, using the spells and protections from the benevolent tome to hold them at bay. Emily, standing at the forefront, wielded the combined power of the relics, her presence a beacon of hope and strength. The battle raged on, with waves of darkness crashing against the Guardians' defenses. The air was filled with the sounds of incantations, the clash of magical energies, and the roars of the dark entities. Emily and Julian fought side by side, their bond of friendship and mutual respect strengthening their resolve. As the night wore on, the shadows seemed endless, their numbers overwhelming. But just when all hope seemed lost, the relics began to pulse with a new intensity, their light growing even brighter. Emily realized that they had one final chance to turn the tide. She called upon the Guardians to channel their energy into the relics, combining their power to unleash a final, decisive strike. With a unified effort, the Guardians poured their magic into the relics. The light intensified, spreading out in a powerful wave that swept through the manor and into the surrounding land. The dark entities shrieked in agony as the light consumed them, dissolving their shadows and banishing their presence from the world. As the dawn broke, the last of the shadows were vanquished, and a serene silence settled over Windhurst Manor. The Guardians, exhausted but triumphant, gathered in the Grand Hall to celebrate their victory. The relics, now dimmed but still powerful, had fulfilled their purpose, their light ensuring that the darkness could not return. Emily stood at the center of the gathering, her heart filled with gratitude and pride. The battle had been fierce, but they had emerged victorious, their bond stronger than ever. Windhurst Manor was safe, and the world was free from the threat of the Ordo Noctis. In the days that followed, Emily and Julian worked to restore the manor and help the town of Bramblewood recover from the ordeal. The Guardians remained vigilant, knowing that their duty was never truly over. They continued to train and study, preparing for any future threats that might arise. Windhurst Manor became a place of learning and sanctuary, where people from all over the world came to seek knowledge and protection. The Guardians shared their wisdom, teaching others the importance of balance and the power of light. The benevolent tome remained a treasured guide, its pages revealing new secrets and insights to those worthy of its knowledge. Emily, now recognized as the leader of the Guardians, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had embraced her destiny and forged a new path for herself and her companions. The hidden horrors had been revealed and conquered, and a new era of hope and light had begun. And so, Windhurst Manor stood as a beacon of resilience and strength, a testament to the power of unity and the triumph of light over darkness. Emily knew that their journey was far from over, but she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in the knowledge that she and her fellow Guardians were prepared to protect the world from any hidden horrors that might emerge from the shadows. The years rolled by, bringing peace and prosperity to Windhurst Manor and the town of Bramblewood. The Guardians continued their work, and Emily, now an experienced leader, took great pride in their accomplishments. However, the tranquility of their lives was disrupted one autumn evening when an unexpected visitor arrived at the manor. Emily was in the library, poring over an ancient manuscript, when she heard a knock at the door. One of the newer Guardians, a young woman named Ava, answered it and soon came to fetch Emily. "There's someone here to see you," Ava said, her voice tinged with curiosity. "He says it's urgent." Emily rose from her chair and followed Ava to the foyer, where a tall, cloaked figure stood waiting. The stranger removed his hood to reveal a weathered face, his eyes sharp and intense. He carried a worn leather satchel that seemed to emanate an aura of mystery. "Greetings," the man said, bowing slightly. "My name is Elias Thorne. I come bearing a warning and a plea for help." Elias was invited into the Grand Hall, where he recounted his tale to Emily, Julian, and the other senior Guardians. He spoke of a distant land where dark forces were rising, similar to those of the Ordo Noctis, but even more insidious. These forces, he explained, were led by a powerful sorceress named Morgana, who sought to harness ancient magic to dominate the world. "The relics of light you possess have held the darkness at bay," Elias said, his voice grave. "But Morgana has discovered a way to nullify their power. She seeks an artifact known as the Obsidian Heart, a source of immense dark energy that can corrupt anything it touches. If she obtains it, she will be unstoppable." Emily and Julian exchanged worried glances. They had thought their greatest battle was behind them, but it seemed a new threat had emerged. "We must stop her," Emily declared. "We cannot allow the Obsidian Heart to fall into her hands." Elias revealed that the Obsidian Heart was hidden in the ancient ruins of an old civilization deep within an uncharted jungle. The journey would be perilous, fraught with dangers both natural and supernatural. Emily, ever the brave leader, decided to lead the expedition herself, accompanied by Julian, Elias, and a select group of the most skilled guardians. Before setting out, Emily consulted the benevolent tome for guidance. It revealed a spell that could temporarily shield them from the Obsidian Heart's corrupting influence, but warned that the spell's protection would be limited. They would need to act quickly and decisively. With preparations complete, the group departed Windhurst Manor, leaving it under the capable care of the remaining guardians. The journey ahead was uncertain, but they knew they had no choice but to face it head-on. The jungle was a living, breathing entity, dense with foliage and teeming with life. But it was also a place of hidden dangers, with treacherous terrain, venomous creatures, and the ever-present threat of Morgana's minions. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, the group encountered signs of the sorceress's influence, corrupted wildlife and strange, dark totems marking their path. Elias proved to be an invaluable guide, his knowledge of the jungle's secrets helping them avoid many traps and pitfalls. Julian's scholarly expertise allowed them to decipher ancient runes and navigate the labyrinthine ruins. Emily's leadership and bravery inspired the group to push forward even when their spirits waned. One night, as they made camp, Emily took a moment to reflect on their journey. She felt the weight of responsibility heavy on her shoulders, but also a deep sense of purpose. They were fighting not just for themselves, but for the future of the world. After weeks of arduous travel, the group finally reached the heart of the jungle. There, hidden beneath layers of vines and moss, stood the ancient temple that housed the Obsidian Heart. The structure was immense, with towering stone columns and intricate carvings depicting battles between light and darkness. As they approached the temple, the air grew thick with an oppressive energy. Emily could feel the pull of the Obsidian Heart, a dark presence that seemed to reach out and claw at her very soul. She steeled herself, knowing they were close to their goal. Inside the temple, they encountered more of Morgana's minions, twisted, shadowy beings that attacked without mercy. The guardians fought valiantly, using their combined skills and the protection of the benevolent tome to hold their enemies at bay. Finally, they reached the central chamber, where the Obsidian Heart lay on a pedestal of black stone. Its dark energy pulsed rhythmically, casting an eerie glow across the room. Morgana herself stood before it, her eyes burning with malevolent glee. "Morgana!" Emily shouted, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Your reign of darkness ends here." Morgana turned, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "You are too late, guardians. The Obsidian Heart will be mine, and with it, I will reshape the world in my image." The battle that ensued was fierce and chaotic. Spells and incantations filled the air, clashing with explosive force. Morgana's dark magic was powerful, but the guardians fought with determination and unity. Emily and Julian worked together to counter Morgana's attacks, while Elias and the other guardians held off her minions. As the battle raged on, Emily saw an opening. She called upon the power of the relics, channeling their combined light into a focus beam aimed directly at Morgana. The sorceress screamed in agony as the light enveloped her, weakening her hold on the obsidian heart. With a final, desperate effort, Emily lunged forward and seized the obsidian heart, using the protective spell from the benevolent tome to shield herself from its corrupting influence. The dark energy surged around her, but she held firm, focusing on the light within her. The obsidian heart began to crack and crumble, its power dissipating into the air. Morgana let out one last, anguished cry before vanishing into the darkness, defeated and powerless. With the obsidian heart destroyed, the oppressive energy that had plagued the jungle lifted, and a sense of peace settled over the ancient temple. The guardians, exhausted but triumphant, made their way back to Windhurst Manor, their mission complete. They were greeted as heroes, their victories celebrated by all who had remained behind. Emily, Julian, and Elias shared their story, ensuring that the knowledge of their journey and the dangers they had faced would be preserved for future generations. Windhurst Manor continued to stand as a beacon of light, its guardians ever vigilant against the forces of darkness. Emily, though forever changed by her experiences, remained a steadfast leader, guiding her companions with wisdom and courage. As the years passed, the guardians trained new members, passing on their knowledge and skills. The benevolent tome continued to reveal its secrets, guiding them in their quest to protect the world. Emily often reflected on their journey, the trials they had faced, and the bonds they had forged. She knew that the battle against darkness would never truly end, but she was confident that they were prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. And so, the legacy of Windhurst Manor endured, a testament to the power of unity, the resilience of the human spirit, and the triumph of light over darkness. Emily and her fellow guardians stood ready to face the hidden horrors of the world, their hearts and minds united in their unwavering commitment to protect and preserve the light. Years of peace followed the defeat of Morgana, but Emily knew that the cycle of light and darkness would eventually bring new challenges. One crisp autumn evening, as she wandered the gardens of Windhurst Manor, she felt a familiar tug, a sense of foreboding mixed with anticipation. It was the same feeling she had before discovering the benevolent tome and embarking on their quest. Emily made her way to the library, where the benevolent tome rested on its altar. She placed her hand on its cover, feeling the warmth of its magic seep into her skin. The tome opened on its own, revealing a new set of symbols and words. Asterisk, the ultimate balance lies within. To truly vanquish the darkness, one must understand and accept it. Asterisk, Emily pondered the message. It seemed the tome was hinting at something deeper, a final lesson that transcended their battles. She called Julian and the senior guardians to discuss the revelation. Emily and the guardians spent weeks meditating on the tome's message, seeking to understand its deeper meaning. They realized that while they had always fought against the darkness, they had never sought to understand its origins and nature. To achieve true balance, they needed to confront the darkness within themselves. They embarked on a spiritual journey, delving into their pasts, fears, and insecurities. It was a difficult process, fraught with emotional turmoil, but it brought them closer together and deepened their understanding of their own humanity. Through this introspection, they learned that darkness was not just an external force, but an integral part of existence, one that could be acknowledged and balanced without being feared or hated. As they reached the culmination of their inner journey, a new thread emerged, an entity born from the collective fears and shadows of humanity. This entity, known as the Shadow King, was more powerful than any adversary they had faced, feeding on the unresolved darkness within every soul. The Guardians knew they had to confront the Shadow King not with brute force, but with the wisdom and balance they had gained. They gathered in the grand hall of Windhurst Manor, ready to face their greatest challenge. The Shadow King appeared as a towering, formless shadow, its presence chilling and oppressive. Emily stepped forward, her heart steady, and began to speak. "We do not come to destroy you," she said, her voice calm and resolute. "We come to understand and accept you. Darkness is a part of us, but it does not define us." Julian and the other guardians joined her, their combined light illuminating the hall. They extended their hands, offering acceptance rather than rejection. The Shadow King roared, its form writhing in confusion and pain, but gradually it began to shrink and lose its power. The Guardians' acceptance of their own darkness weakened the entity, transforming it into a more manageable form. It was no longer a monstrous force, but a shadowy figure that mirrored their own struggles and imperfections. With the Shadow King subdued, the balance was restored. The Guardians had achieved a deeper understanding of themselves and the nature of light and darkness. Windhurst Manor thrived, its residents living in harmony with their inner selves and the world around them. Emily, now a wise and revered leader, continued to guide the Guardians with compassion and insight. She knew that the journey of balance was ongoing, but she was confident in their ability to face whatever the future held. Windhurst Manor remained a sanctuary of light, a place where people from all walks of life could come to learn, heal, and find peace. The legacy of the Guardians endured, a testament to the power of unity, acceptance, and the eternal dance between light and darkness. And so, the story of Windhurst Manor came to a close, not with a final battle but with a lasting harmony. The hidden horrors had been revealed, understood, and integrated, leaving behind a world stronger and more resilient than before. Emily stood on the balcony overlooking the gardens, feeling a profound sense of peace. She knew that as long as they embraced both light and darkness, the Guardians of Windhurst Manor would always be ready to protect and preserve the balance of the world.